All right, settle in. Today, we're not going to be looking at the usual battlefields of human history. No, we're going somewhere much, much older, to a war fought on a scale that almost defies imagination. We're peeling back the very earth to witness a conflict waged with acid, with mandibles, and with a level of strategy that would make our greatest generals nod in recognition.
You've probably heard this one before. Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It's been the bedrock of strategic thinking for over 2,000 years. It's a principle you see everywhere, from the boardroom to the battlefield.
But here's a thought. What if the real masters of this art, the ones who've been practicing it the longest, weren't human at all? What if everything we think we invented, intelligence, maneuver, even total war, was actually perfected millions of years before we even showed up? That's the world we're about to dive into.
Okay, so our story starts on a front line that's, well, it's everywhere and nowhere. It's a theater of war that's happening right under your feet, right now.
I want you to just let that number sink in. 100 million years. We're talking before the dinosaurs checked out. While our earliest ancestors were basically just terrified little furballs hiding in the shadows, entire legions of ants were already marching. Empires were rising and falling in the dirt. The sheer scale, the timeline, it's just staggering.
Now, just like in any human war, the real battle doesn't start when the armies clash. Nope, it all begins long before that. It starts with intelligence.
So you see this term, pheromone trail, and you might just think, oh, a scent. But that's not it at all. You have to think of it in military terms. This isn't just a smell, it's an entire communications network. A single scout can lay down a chemical signal that's a highway, a warning sign, and a call to arms, all wrapped into one. It's basically their version of secure comms.
And the parallel here is, it's just uncanny. Look at this. An ant scout leaves the nest. It's not just randomly looking for a dropped crumb. It is actively mapping the terrain. It's assessing the strength of neighboring colonies, and it's identifying their most valuable assets, their supply lines of food, their larvae. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a special forces operator on a deep reconnaissance mission behind enemy lines.
So once that intel is gathered and a target is picked, the armies mobilize. And the tactics they use, well, they should look hauntingly familiar to any student of history.
Okay, anyone who's studied military history knows this one. The pincer movement, the double envelopment, it's a classic. Hannibal used it at Cannae to just absolutely annihilate a Roman army. It's a sophisticated maneuver that takes coordination, timing, and serious discipline.
And then you see this. Ants. Doing the exact same thing. You'll see their columns split, sweep wide around the enemy's flanks, and then just crash into their rear. It creates total chaos. This isn't a random swarm. This is coordinated, instinctual military doctrine at work.
And it's not just about offense. The defensive tactics are just as familiar. At a choke point, say, the narrow entrance to their nest, they'll form a living wall. Specialized soldier ants will literally use their own bodies, their massive armored heads, to plug the hole. They become a living gate, a shield wall. It's the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, but on a miniature scale. They are willing to die right there to hold that pass.
But this goes so much deeper than just battlefield formations. The entire structure of an ant colony is built for war. We're talking specialized units and some pretty unconventional weapons.
Yeah, see, a colony isn't a mob. It's a professional army, organized by caste. You've got your smaller, quicker ants, the miners, acting as your light infantry, your skirmishers. And then you've got the majors. These are the heavy infantry. Heavily armored, massive mandibles. They're the shock troops you send in to break the enemy line.
And then you get to the weapons themselves. We're way beyond just biting and stinging here. Many species are basically walking chemical weapons platforms. They can produce and spray formic acid from a distance. And this stuff is a potent irritant. It can blind, disorient, and completely overwhelm their enemies.
Honestly, the parallel to our own history here is, well, it's pretty chilling. Think about it. An ant spraying formic acid to drive defenders out of a nest entrance is doing the exact same thing a soldier in World War I did with tear gas to clear a trench. The function is identical. Use a chemical agent to make a fortified position impossible to hold.
Which brings us to the aftermath, the consequences. Because in the world of ants, war is never a limited engagement. It is total. It is absolute.
And this definition, total war, is so important for understanding what's at stake here.
For ants, there's no Geneva Convention. There are no rules of engagement. There are no truces. There is only one of two outcomes: absolute victory or complete and utter annihilation.
And the spoils of victory. They're as brutal as it gets. Winning isn't just about grabbing more territory. It means seizing the enemy's entire food supply, and, even more grim, their children. The victors will literally raid the nursery, carrying off eggs and larvae to be raised as slaves in their own colony. It is conquest in its most raw, most primal form.
And the cost of these wars, it's just almost beyond comprehension. In a single major battle between two big colonies, the ground can be covered with tens of thousands of bodies. We're talking casualty rates that can shoot past 80%. These aren't skirmishes. These are wars of extermination.
So, all of this leaves us with a pretty profound question, doesn't it? When we see our own military tactics, the pincer movement, the shield wall, even chemical warfare, perfectly mirrored in a creature that's been doing this for 100 million years, what does that really tell us about ourselves? Maybe, just maybe, our art of war wasn't an invention at all. Maybe it was a discovery, the discovery of a brutal, fundamental pattern of survival, a blueprint for conflicts written not in our books, but in life itself.